Hello, everyone. I'm Adam with Demiplane. Thank you for joining me for this week's development update and Q&A session. We have got several fun things for today, and we're going to dig right in. We are going to talk about what we're working on. We've been really working hard on the character tools and trying to get the alpha ready for Pathfinder. But we also have a giveaway today of the Alien RPG core book and the newly released for Demiplane Colonial Marines Operations Manual, which is just indispensable. Really, really great book if you're playing the Alien RPGs. So you can win both of those today. A little bit later, keep your eyes on chat and you'll have prompts and instructions to do that when the time comes. But let's jump right into the latest updates. So for Pathfinder Nexus Early Access, we are working on, I think, the last book that is going to release before the end of this year for Pathfinder is Bloodlords. And I don't, is it A Taste of Ashes, or did I not update that again? Um, I think it's something different. That is wholly my fault for not updating the slide that is being shown on the screen right now. But it is the sixth installment of Bloodlords, sixth and final. Ghost King's Rage. I'm updating it there for posterity, but we won't really have to update it too much longer because I believe that comes out next week, and I think that that will wrap up all of the books that we have, at least for the rest of this year. We have several more coming out in Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 of next year. Pathfinder is a juggernaut, and so lots of great content coming our way. But on the character builder and digital sheets, so for the closed alpha, the code deployment has begun, and this is a pretty major milestone. It's going to be a massive amount of code that is being deployed, it's the biggest that we've done so far. Even for quote unquote just the alpha, this is the biggest code deployment because, as you can imagine, we've been off developing this in development environments, that range from the developers' personal environments, sandboxes that they're playing in, all the way to the various development and test environments that we have internally. And now we are trying to get that live for all of you to potentially be able to access. And so there are lots of moving parts. And so that actually has started today, and code is starting to move and is starting to be deployed. And so we do, given that status, we do expect the first wave of closed alpha invites to start this week. Don't think it's going to be today. Probably not tomorrow, but I think Thursday's looking pretty good. So things can go wrong. Again, biggest code deployment that we've done yet. So the unknowns can pop up, but we do expect the first wave of alpha invites to go out this week. So this is a huge deal. As you can see here, or you might not be able to see it very well, we will post this to our forums and other places that we do some of these recaps. This is just a quick little graphic of a tracking sheet that we are currently using for kind of thinking through where we have coverage for the different options with modifiers. So I've talked about modifiers before, but these are the ways that essentially we make this engine system work. So if you have a game element like an item, and that item gives you +2 to your armor class, then modifiers are the things that are kind of identifying and flagging that item does that, and tying that back into the engine system that's going on behind the scenes. And so when you see this sheet and the tracking that's happening here, you can see that the core rule book is done, the advanced player's guide is almost done, and then Game Mastery Guide. Granted, Game Mastery Guide doesn't have too many character options in it, But we do expect, as the first wave of invites go out, to have options in the core rulebook, advanced players guide, and game mastery guide for the most part ready. And so you see that issues column over there. That is essentially counting the amount of what we'll call exception items, where some of the existing modifiers that we don't have aren't quite working the way that we want them to. Generally, they still are going to work. You're going to be able to make the choices. You're going to be able to have all the information in front of you. You can still play with that. But this is us wanting to go a little bit further and provide even more convenience for whatever those things are. But out of many different kinds of those. And so, for instance, with the core rule book there, you see, if you can see it, you see 46 issues. Those are actually, that's not what is remaining. That is what we had to work through initially in order to get, that in a place where it is playable. And so working through these percentages, you can see that there's a little bit of Secrets of Magic, a little bit of Guns and Gears, Book of the Dead, Dark Archive. Most of that is based less on, we don't look at this from the perspective of, hey, we have these books and we're going to work through them one at a time. It is more, hey, we have this kind of mechanic and these modifiers that are hooking up to that. And, this modifier, so, some modifiers are used over and over and over, ability boosts and being able to boost an ability, for instance, that is used all over the place. And so we are able to go through, of course, into the places like Book of the Dead and Dark Archive, where those are used and use those. But then the rest of that coverage is as we're coming to a new book and there are new mechanics that we need to cover. We're going to be working through those. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that in the upcoming section of the stream. But ultimately, that is that's kind of the cross section that you're going to have a pretty good amount of coverage for the core rulebook, advanced players guide, and game mastery guide. And we're going to be working through these other books throughout the closed alpha. And then what you see here, what you seek is coming. This is a drawer, so a sidebar drawer that if you click on certain things, you might end up getting that message a decent amount here at the start of the alpha, because the way that we're doing this is, again, we're getting it out there. We want you to kick the tires, give us your general impressions of the overall flow, of the look and feel. Again, just very impressional and directional. So, impressional and directional are words that you're going to probably hear me bring up a good bit, because the things that we're not looking for, necessarily right now are, hey, this certain mechanic is missing from the alpha, because there is a very, very good chance that we know that. And that is something that is on our list. Now, again, we're totally fine if you want to bring it up to make sure it's on our list. But we might, the answer to that might be it's on the list and it's not here yet. So just keep that in mind as you jump into the closed alpha if you're choosing to do this. As I've also said before, if, using unfinished software is not your thing, then it is perfectly fine for you to skip this phase of what's going on, because, if you want a polished experience, this is not going to be a great experience for you. It's going to be a little bit frustrating for you. And then, also as you're looking at the alpha, as we initially go live with this, for instance, spells management isn't going to probably be in the very first release. Now we think it'll be in, the release that happens a few days after that first release. But unless you're playing a martial character, you're probably not going to be able to play all of the different character concepts that you're wanting to right off the bat. We might not have the book that particular class or option is presented in. This is not the phase where you're going to be able to just take whatever you're doing using any and all options from Pathfinder and come in, because we're not quite there yet. This is the phase where, again, we want to get impressions about, like, hey, are we headed in the right direction with this? Is this, are we scratching the right itch? Is, are there big sweeping adjustments that we need to make at this phase? as we then go in and finalize all those things where you can play all the characters that you want to play. And that is coming with the open beta. And so, of course, we'll keep everybody posted on exactly when that's happening. But we are really excited that we're getting to this point, this massive code move to get everything prepped and ready for the alpha. And we're looking forward to your impressions and to the feedback about those impressions. All right, Vampire Nexus Early Access. So we have submitted Cults of the Blood Gods, Chicago by Night, and All Sanguine, that New Year's Eve story. We have submitted those to the World of Darkness team for their review as of late last night. So I pulled a late night trying to get all of that ready and prepped to try to give them the time that they need to review that before we hit the holiday break. And so we appreciate the World of Darkness team reviewing it, pre holidays here, but hope to have news on that very soon. And I've got a very good feeling that we will be able to get this out before, the middle of this month, before things start to kind of shut down a little bit around all of the different companies as we hit into the holidays. But looking forward to all three of those. I loved working on them. Like, there's just great content. That's one of my favorite parts of being able to work on all of these games and all of the content that we get to work on, is that I, get to read them word for word pretty much as I'm going through. And so I'm getting to just consume so much content. And there's some really great stuff in all of these. If you are looking for something to do for your, if you're going to pull an all-nighter when it comes to New Year's and you want to play a game, this is Auld Sanguine is an incredible way to spend a New Year's Eve. So definitely give that a chance if you're thinking that through. And then on the Alien side, as I said earlier, we're going to give away the first couple of books that we have ready for that. But the next one that we are currently working on is Destroyer of Worlds. Not exactly sure at this point, just being very straightforward and transparent with everybody. That one is not likely to hit before we hit our holiday break, but we are hoping to get that out in January as soon as we can. All right, giveaway time. So instructions in chat, but you would type #EpicLoot when you are prompted. And if you happen to win today, again, you will get an Alien RPG core book, as well as the Colonial Marines Operations Manual. And if you win, congratulations, pre-congratulations, first of all. But if you win, you can redeem that at demiplane.com/activate. And then you can head to the Alien RPG Nexus in this case and see all that content in the sources menu and the game rules menu, everywhere that it's going to be populated there. All right, let's see. All right, upcoming Pathfinder Character Tools Closed Alpha. So releases, I wanted to talk about this a little bit. So now that we have hit a moment where we are not in exploration or prospecting mode any longer on these character tools. We ended up spending a lot of time there because, as I've talked about before, we needed to be sure that we were able to make this truly a platform that was going to be able to work for all of the games that we're supporting. We're really excited about that part. Not to put too fine a point on it, we have pulled that off. And so again, you're probably never going to see the back end of that, of how that works. But if you're into development, into coding, that part is going to be pretty impressive if you got to take a peek at that. So the flexibility and power that we knew that we would need to make the Nexus platform work, we're in a place where we're feeling really, really good about that. And then now that we're kind of transitioning over into a more operational mode instead of an exploration mode with that, we are going to have much more frequent updates. So we're going to be pushing code on typically on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So, kind of probably larger releases on Tuesday, and then dealing with any, feedback or regression, low-hanging fruit in Thursday releases. And so that's going to be a pattern that we're getting into that probably tells you a little bit about how we want this to work this week. Thursday again is probably looking like a pretty good day. But the idea is that as we have things developed, and these might not be big releases because from a Thursday to a Tuesday isn't that many business working days. But we are going to very regularly be pushing out new updates as they're coming, and so with that in mind, we're expecting, after this initial release, we're expecting 2 to 3 additional releases before we hit our holiday break. But when we come back from the holiday break, that same iterative approach and kind of that cadence is still going to be in effect, and we're going to pick things up, and I'm really looking forward to it because we're going to be picking things up at that point with fully recharged batteries. Over that time, we're going to get very easily get to 100% charge, and so really looking forward to picking things up on the other side. But in those 2 to 3 additional patches before the end of the year, we can expect to introduce spells management, as I said, when this. Hopefully this week when you first get into the closed alpha, you're not going to see spells management in place. We were almost there. We almost pulled the trigger on it, but it's like, even for an alpha, we want the first impression to be a little bit better than what it was. And so, with that, a week or so of additional time, we expect spells management to get in there. That book coverage that I was showing you earlier, the different percentages of things. There will be more and more book coverage as we progress through the next 2 or 3 kind of patch update releases. Companions and familiars. There are subsystems that will be introduced over the course of the closed alpha. Now, I want to be clear about this. I'm realizing that this might be a little confusing. Companions and familiars, I'm not necessarily talking about those in the 2 to 3 before the holiday break. But that was an example of as we continue to iterate over the course of the closed alpha, there's a short list that, when we get into January after we return from the holiday break, I'll gladly just go through the entire list of the different subsystems that we're working on. And all of those things will be added throughout the closed alpha, getting prepped and ready for the open beta. Now, open beta for us, as I have mentioned before, but I think as we're getting closer to the start of closed alpha, it's really important for me to reiterate the open beta for us is where we turn this on for everyone. Everybody can jump into, create characters, play with characters using the digital character sheet. This is, for all intents and purposes, what we consider to be a, more or less ready product. I won't say finished product because honestly, for character tools for Pathfinder, we're going to be working on this for as long as the game is around because Paizo is constantly adding new things that we're going to be covering. But we'll definitely say that when open beta comes, this is what we consider a ready for you product. And so that is going to include things like being able to export a PDF to print the character sheet if you want to. Those things aren't going to be in at the beginning of alpha, but over alpha you're going to see those things again iteratively being added throughout the closed alpha period. And when we get to a point where all the things are in that we want to be in, and again in January, I think that'll be pretty good timing for me to kind of walk you through what the list is of the big things that we're putting in prior to open beta. But all of those things are going to be in place. Open beta is the point where we say, hey, we're still needing some testing here. But we are not embarrassed to invite you into the house. Like we think this is ready for you to actually take this and use this and play with this. So that's kind of how we are thinking about things, and we're excited to continue to forge ahead with this kind of couple of releases a week approach from here on out. With the exception, as I mentioned before, we will have a holiday break, and right now, the Demiplane offices are going to be closed from essentially a week of the 19th through January 3rd, and so all of the services will be monitored We encourage you and invite you because we understand that some of you may be off, work a little bit and school a little bit as these dates are aligning, and so definitely encourage you to provide any feedback on the alpha during that time. We are certainly going to still be paying attention to that, and even if we take a little bit of time off here or there, we're going to come back and read every single post in all of the places. And it'll even give us a little bit of a chance to think through responses and whether we're going to be able to incorporate that feedback or not. So it gives us a great chance to really parse it and categorize it and all the things that we need to do in order to mobilize to act on any of that feedback. So definitely, just because we're going dark for a bit there, that is dark in the sense that we're not going to be, posting on our social media accounts. We're not going to be streaming during that, and we're not going to be, beholden to multiple meetings every day. We're going to be, but we still will be around for the most part. We're going to be, paying attention to that feedback. And either way, when we return in January, we're going to, again, with that 100% charge, hit everything full force. And if you didn't get replies during that period, again, understand that we are keeping up with all of it. I remember in my past life, there was a very specific feature. So we released a digital character sheet. It wasn't doing the trick, and we ended up releasing a whole new version of that about 7 to 8 months later. And what predicated that, what led up to that, I counted at one time, I think I read 770,000 posts. So somebody was trying to, kind of see like how much feedback, and I'm talking about that was me personally. We also had a team that was reading, more than that, right? And so it's like, we're definitely going to read the feedback. We're not always going to agree with the feedback, and sometimes feedback is going to be preferential, and we're going to see opposing or competing preferences, and we're going to have to do the best that we can to try to kind of get in the middle of that and find out what works the best for the most people. So that entire process. But I can assure you that we, first of all, appreciate any and all of the feedback, but then second of all, we are going to read it and we're going to review all of it. So as we start alpha, please keep all that in mind. And even as we go dark during the holiday break here, know that it is not going out into a void. It is absolutely going to be, reviewed, and we're going to, parse that feedback. Children of Erte, the final regular episode of the year is tonight. And, speaking as, Silas is completely fine right now. So, I won't get into spoilers or anything, but he's completely fine. And he knows not what he does. We'll say that maybe. And then next week, there's going to be an On the Erte holiday special. And we're going to have all of the cast members, except for Deborah, that are going to be available for that. And we are going to, I'm not exactly sure what kind of fun we're going to get or hijinks we're going to get up to, but looking forward to that next week. But tonight is the final regular episode of the year. All right. I think that is everything. I am going to switch over to questions. If you have questions, then feel free to get those in, and I will jump through as many as I can here with the time we have left. So first of all, Demibot is doing the thing again. Demibot might be a little bit tipsy or something here, but Demibot is duplicating all of your questions. And so I have now come to Demibot and using Demibot's interface, and I see each question listed twice. And so we're going to have to perform a full diagnostic on Demibot and see what we can do to help Demibot out. All right. So Scott R1C, how fleshed out are familiar / eidolons in the alphas? I expect that to be a unique set of problems. Yeah. So I touched on this a little bit. They're not fleshed out or let me rephrase. They are not going to be available for you here at the start of the alpha. that is likely not something that's going to be in before the end of this year, for instance. But post holiday break, it's one of the first things that we will start to look on. And that concept of companions, familiars, those kinds of things. That is an entire. We understand their importance in Pathfinder comparatively to some other games where they're kind of a tertiary or quaternary. Is that I don't know how that one goes, but anyway, they're less important in other games than they are in Pathfinder. But we understand their importance in Pathfinder, and it's something that we will absolutely be tackling. And we have given it a great deal of thought. We've conceptualized. We have design mock-ups of how that those screens are going to look and behave. We just don't have them in place yet, but it is going to be kind of on that short to medium list that we're going to be getting to here in the closed alpha. All right, let me see. I got to go through these duplicates. Demibot, Cosmos, Jeep. Will there be a way to show maps and do like a VTT? Excellent question. And as it stands right now, we are not focused on providing what many people think of as a virtual tabletop. We think that there are lots of VTTs out there, and lots of preferences that people have for VTTs. What we are really focused on right now is providing what we think is a gap in coverage when it comes to digital tools, and a lot of that is finding information as easily and quickly as you can, and very much so centered around this character experience. And that's where we see we can provide a ton of value, and so that's where we're focused now. I won't say never, but definitely we're focused on those things first, and those things can also be used within your preferred VTT, and so I think that that's another part of the approach that we're going for. But yeah, like I said, I'll never say never on anything like that. But we have some bigger fish to fry based on what we're focused on right now. And like I said, the core, the cornerstone of that is this character's experience with the character builder and digital character sheet, and we're just getting to the point where we're getting started with that. So that's the core focus for Demiplane. Let's see, Decran 82. Will the characters build in closed alpha be available as we move into beta? Great question. And what I can say about that is our intent. And I need to explain that a little bit longer. We definitely don't want, unless something catastrophically goes wrong, which is possible in an alpha. But we do not anticipate, we certainly do not have the intent for you to lose anything at any point in the process. But again, I have to throw out the disclaimer that things can break during an alpha. But again, we will not have a wipe or anything along those lines. The intent would be for you to keep anything that you create during anything that we alpha test or beta test throughout. An exception to that could potentially be that if you build a character that is using a subsystem that we have to entirely rework based on feedback, then that character may that part of that character. So let's say you made a choice of a dedication feat or something to pick up an archetype. If we have to completely rework how that archetype works, then in many cases any of those changes are going to just naturally flow over. Everything's going to be fine. But if we have to really, really get in there kind of at the ground level and rework something, then you may have to go back to the builder for that character and re-choose the new option or the reworked option. But the idea would be that your character would not go away. So we're very concerned with making sure that any changes like that happen are not going to be destructive in nature. So it's something that we definitely have on our minds. I will say that during the alpha, and again, I'm just kind of using hypotheticals here because that's all I have to work with at the moment. But if Paizo made a big change to the way, um, let's see, I'm trying to think of something, a good one. If Paizo made a big changes to the way that the elementalism, archetype and spell list worked, where you became an elementalist, mage, and we had to make some big sweeping changes to that. Once we are in open beta, there is a good chance that we're going to really take the time and focus and energy to, if we make those updates, we will also create scripting and automation around, transferring those things for any existing characters that have that. Because again, we're going to be, do no harm is essentially what we're going to do. I can tell you that during the alpha part of this, we're probably not taking that extra time to do that. And if they make that kind of change and we make that change, then we'll certainly let people know that we've made the change. But instead of that just magically flowing over to whatever the new thing is, you may have to remove the option in the character builder and then re-add the option to get the new stuff again during alpha. But post alpha, when we're getting into beta, those are the kind of things that we will probably try to make as graceful of a transition as possible, to have the least impact. But we're going to be focused on other things at this point in the life cycle. So a lot of nuance there, and possibly more specifics and details than you were looking for. But I did want to try to explain that, with the little information that I currently have on that. But that's how we are thinking about things, and we definitely have no intention of wiping any information or data as we transition from alpha into the open beta. Let's see. Death 25. Will the Alchemist book going to be managed like spells, or will it be different? That's a little bit difficult for me to answer because, like, I don't know what you mean. Like, it is not going to be managed like spells in that you're going to go to the spells section and do it. There will be UI cues that are similar to spells. So if you mean like in that way, we're going to be trying to keep that thing as standard as we can from the user interface perspective. But formulas and all of that is a separate type of management. It's also something that's not going to be available here initially. It's something that we are going to be finalizing over the course of the closed alpha. But definitely, we understand that it is a requirement to treat it differently and make sure that all the circumstances are being met for what is needed to play an alchemist. Let's see. Through some of these. Rex Verity, who's your favorite character from the movie Aliens? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I could be really clever or cute and probably say like a whole bunch of different people, right? But at the end of the day, I just love Ripley. Like I mean, I do. Like I just love her, and I love her in all the things, even some of the movies where people say that they're not good. I am a big Ripley fan, and so no question, favorite character from any of the movies that Ripley is in is Ripley. So I can give more of a discourse on all the other characters at some other point in time when we have more time. All right, Rex Verity, what is your favorite family holiday tradition? That is a good one. We do something around the U.S. Thanksgiving that we call Thank the Maker weekend. And it means that, kind of on the Thanksgiving long weekend, we watch a whole bunch of Star Wars. And it started out as watching, the 6 movies that had been released several years ago, and doing a marathon and watching all of them, and, enduring the prequels, and then, really loving it and bringing it home with the sequel trilogy. But post Mandalorian and Disney Plus and everything else, like we've got so many new options. And so this year, everything was very, Andor related for Thank the Maker. But that is a tradition that I absolutely love. And then the other thing that I love is when I get off, work, I love this time of year where I get a couple of and honestly I try to get 3 weeks as many times as I can. I don't think it's going to work this year, but I like this time of year. I don't take a ton of time off during the year, but I kind of condense it all here at the end, because I can tackle a lot of personal projects that I don't find time for during the rest of the year. And so that honestly has become a tradition, because for many years now, I kind of fill that time with a personal project, and not quite ready to talk about what the personal project is going to be this time, because I'm still choosing between a couple of things. But maybe on the flip side, you can ask me what happened with the personal project, and I will share all those details. All right, Death 25. Have you had Scrooge's chocolate when you've been to Green Bay at all? If not, I will have to make Pete help find some, help send some to you. Scrooge's chocolate. No, I don't know what that is. I do not know what that is. So that is a new one for me. If that is something that is a Green Bay specialty, then it is something that Peter and these people that I thought were my friend have been withholding from me. So no, I have not had the pleasure of that. But from the name, it already sounds very promising. All right, let's see. I got a few more, and I'll try to get through them all. I know we're a little over time, but I'm going to try to push through here. Art Arcade, will the character sheets and all character tools integrate with Demiplane match tools, aka the chat journal, etc.? The intent is yes. Initially, there will not be as much integration as we all would like. So we've got to kind of do this in stages. But we have some big updates for groups and chat and all of this that maybe when we come back in January, I can start showing some of the direction that we're going to go with all of that, because it's very exciting to see. Now, the caveat there is we're probably not going to get to it until closer to the middle of the year, start working on that next year. But the intent is that after we can get the character tools platform, part of the platform where we want it to be, then all of that is going to be tied together with group portals and with chat and text and all of those things. Because right now they do feel like two separate experiences. And we don't want that to be the case. We have every intention, and have from the beginning, for that to be a very, very seamless experience. And so, honestly, we are really excited as we are going to be getting character tools where they need to be. The first part of, heading into 2023, we are really excited to be able to get back to doing some things with matchmaking, group portals, and all the various types of chat on Demiplane. And especially fully integrating that stuff all together. Again, I've got a little bit of a wry smile on my face, because I know what it looks like, and I know what it's going to be, and it's really, really great. And so again, like maybe early next year, I can start teasing some of that stuff. Again, it's not going to be ready early next year, but it's something we are going to start working on next year for sure. All right, let's see. Anchor 89. I think we've got a couple more here. Anchor 89. Will the optional rules be available during alpha? Example: free archetype optional character rules from Gamemastery Guide. Also, excellent question. There will not be any of that upon the initial release of the alpha, but during the alpha, many of those things are going to be added. And we are going to be working through, a prioritized list, working with Paizo, but also paying attention to community feedback about which optional rules are important. Clearly, we understand that the free archetype is, I wouldn't surprise me if one day they just make that, core game. But we understand many people play with that out there. So that will be one of the first, if not the first, that we will tackle and make available. So you will see those optional rules come to life throughout the alpha, and there may be some that come to life, as we enter beta, and even some that come to life, post full launch, depending on, again, the community demand. We're going to work through those in kind of order of priority. But I will also call out that in my past life, one of the things that was a big lesson learned was it was very difficult to cover optional rules because things were made in a very we'll say closed system way. And by the way, this is not saying that that shouldn't have been done at that time. Because there were other factors at play, like hey, we're not going to introduce optional rules, coming from a publisher and stuff. But once it happened, then it created some, heartache, on our side. And so the benefit of hindsight is understanding that, in our environment here at Demiplane, we're not only trying to cover, any optional new things that Pathfinder might throw our way, but also what the Alien RPG or Mutant Year Zero or what Avatar Legends might do, or what Vampire the Masquerade, Hunter the Reckoning, or Werewolf the Apocalypse. Any of these things that are coming. We understand that we have to have a system that is flexible enough to cover all the bases, and so this is where those optional rules, when I say that they're not going to be ready right now, spells aren't ready right now at this phase. So I don't want you to take that as like, hey, they're not going to cover optional rules. Like, obviously we're going to cover spells, and it's not in initially. So we're going to work through all that stuff in level of priority, and our platform and the engine approach that we are using allows us the flexibility to actually be able to get to that stuff. Whereas in my previous experience, it was almost impossible to get there. All right, I saw one more come in here, and I'll go in and grab it. Rakame Adophilis, do you have any plans for the Gamemastery Guide subsystems, victory point pools, chases, and infiltration? Definitely. All those things are on the table. Again, they're not going to be in the first pass of things that we do, but I am sure at some point we will start some kind of place where people can almost vote on which optional rules are most important to them. We're going to want to hear from you what's important, or we can decide which order we're going to tackle this stuff in. But we definitely want to cover all those things over time. And as I said, we will have the flexible system that will allow us to do it. Now, it's still going to take time. I do want to make sure that I'm saying that we can't snap our fingers and make this stuff happen. But the good news is how we have built this. We have the capability to do it. Where, as I said in some previous experience, it was a very, very difficult uphill climb to make it happen. All right, and the last one, and I always appreciate this one. What is your second favorite dinosaur? From Rav Bunny. Second favorite as of today, December the 6th, 2022. I would say the second favorite is probably at this point in time the Brachiosaurus. And this is likely because I rewatched Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park, fairly recently, and there's just something about that scene when he first sees it and it comes down, and like I can almost feel my bones shake when it hits the ground. So I'll say that's my second favorite. And right now I'm still kind of on a kick of we'll say Velociraptor, but I think we all know that it's actually a Deinonychus. So that's probably still the favorite. I know you didn't ask that, but I offered that anyway. All right, that is all the questions. I appreciate all of those. Thanks everyone for joining me, and we're really excited about the goings on of this week. So keep your eyes peeled if you are anxious to try to get into the alpha. Keep your eyes peeled for emails, hopefully at some point this week. Soon, either way, actually very soon, either way. So keep an eye out for emails as the first wave of invites are going out, here very, very soon. And then, as you have feedback, keep in mind we can absolutely keep up with feedback in Discord, but the forums are going to be probably our preferred and best place for this, because you have the space to really lay out that feedback, and we will have some dedicated places for you to share that on the forums that we'll be sharing more about probably next week. But if you get your invite before that and you're aching to share feedback, then check out the forums, and hopefully it's going to be pretty clear where you can provide that feedback in the different mega threads that we're going to set up for that. So again, really looking forward to getting all of this party started. And then I think, let's see, next week, again, tonight, Children of Erte, final regular episode of the year. And then next week, we are going to have our final stream of the year with the On the Erte holiday special. And next week will also be our last dev update for the year. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next week. Later, Gators.